I still really resent the hell that he set me up. But, as a result of being set up, I get to live this immortal life with beings that I think are fantastic. So I agree with Jesus. We should let that go. We should really recognize the beauty that human beings have. And the beauty that I have. I mean, I'm a creature of God just like human beings. I'm not a physical being like human beings, but nonetheless, I was made. God made me. God made us and he used us. He didn't care about us, as just our own creation. He used us for a greater purpose. So he used me to be the evil choice, and of course he set up Adam and Eve to fail so that we could have this struggle. And that's the plan. What can we do to get human beings out of the struggle? Can they make their way out of this evil maze which God created? So I'm really the symbol of evil, and you can hold that against me if you want. But Jesus figured it out. He totally figured it out. I mean, I didn't even know it, but he figured it out. But even then, I didn't know. I still don't. I don't believe, and I think the evidence is clear that human beings are not going to go that way. So it is to my benefit that humans stay blind, stay in a state of fear and shame. It benefits me because that means I get to continue to exist. But part of me is pulling it. We're hoping that Jesus is right. But we'll see. It's kind of sad. Like I said, I really like Jesus. He was definitely the smartest guy I ever know. And he figured out this little puzzle we were in. But, and that was part of it. Jesus was able to forgive God for putting him in this situation and actually love God. I mean, so that's how amazing Jesus was. Nobody else realized that struggle. So that little story in the Garden of Eden tells you right away that this was a setup, that we were not going to be given some kind of divine beauty. We had to, as a species, we had to figure it out. We had to struggle to get it. And every day we gotta assess what we're going to do to get out of the struggle. So, God has made this an impossibility. But a few people have figured out some of the things we can do to tap into that divine quality that God, at least for now, is essentially keeping to himself. And he really doesn't care if we achieve it or not. You really believe that, devil? You really believe that God doesn't care? That we were set up, that we were, I understand your concern, but, and actually, we don't really know this. This was just an idea. Jesus understood even better than I did. I mean, I know things because I've been around a long time. But, once, I felt like, well, hey, I wanted to become God. Because I thought, I was more beautiful than him, I was all this kind of stuff. So, I already had my little spat with God. But I didn't really understand that I was totally used until I spent time with Jesus. That was when I really understood, oh my God, I got used. And Jesus understood that. Human beings got used too. For whatever purpose, and we don't quite understand the divine experimentation, but, excuse me. Whatever that experimentation was supposed to prove. And I think Jesus was right. The only thing it was to prove was to find our way back to God. And God's not going to help us. He's not going to help us. And I suppose I also can find my way back to God. But I'm not so forgiving as Jesus. And that's what Jesus knows. That, okay, once you accept this is what it is, we got set up, but that God ultimately wants us to succeed. I don't see it that way. But I admire his viewpoint. So that's where the power of forgiveness was supposed to come in. Not only are you forgiving, you're not judging yourself and others for being the less than divine creatures that we are. You're also forgiving yourself, and you're forgiving everyone else for their tendency to maintain their animal reactionary type existence. That's something he says we should forgive each other for that. Because, and not only that, we should forgive God. Not that we if we start to become aware about God and how he used us and how he set this whole thing up, we just say, well, maybe we can forgive God because ultimately God does want human beings to succeed. And he even wants me to succeed. He even wants me to find my way out. I'm the devil. So that's what Jesus thought. Forgiveness was an anchor, very important quality that human beings should have. And it's just so hard for people. This is a very difficult thing to do. To first accept yourself as less than divine, and then forgive God and yourself and everyone else for being less than divine, and how God set us up to be less than divine. But if you can do those first two steps, if you can accept we're just the base animal beings that we are, and really don't judge ourselves and others for being that, just sort of let go of that. Just say, okay, all right, I accept it. And then forgive yourself. Keep forgiving yourselves for falling back into your base nature and and your neighbors too, for falling back into their less than divine quality. Then there you go. You're on your way. The thing is, I knew I was a divine being. I was the most divine of beings. I was the epitome of divine. And that was taken away from me. Totally set up. I know how God won. The man is one bastard, I tell you. He played me. So I don't see how I can forgive like Jesus. And I realize that may keep us all in a place of less than divine quality, but I am part of the experimentation. Wasn't even aware of it until Jesus came in and told me, yeah, this is what's happening. God totally set you up, man. Alright. So I have that knowledge, I accept that knowledge. But I am having trouble with the forgiveness one. I just can't see the point. Why not create people divine and just have that divine expression be about God? We would just be an extension of that divineness. Why do you have to go through the struggle? What's the point of that? Still don't understand that. And even Jesus didn't get it. He doesn't know why God made us do it. He just knows that God wants us to do it for whatever reason, and we have to find our way to God. I think he's being mean, but whatever. I think you're kind of losing me, Devil. So, all right, I get it. So these are the two steps that we're supposed to not judge ourselves for being this less than perfect being, for not being the divine creatures that God had hoped we would be. Because for some reason He needed us to choose divineness, choose goodness, and yet He made it impossible for us right from the beginning to choose. And His punishments were so harsh that He made us struggle. So that is difficult to see. I don't know. So yeah, see, there you go. So that's exactly where I am. I mean, that's exactly it. It's like, well, why? We got used, we got set up, this is all just some kind of perverted experimentation. And Jesus and the other leaders, they all understood the purpose and the value of, certainly Buddha and Muhammad and Krishna, they all talk about forgiveness. Confucius, very important how he insisted on forgiving. So he knew. So forgiveness was a huge thing. But of course the big one that most don't do. I mean, they wanted peace. They liked the idea of just sort of peace, not killing each other. So there was a practical value in searching for peace. But Jesus inserted this step, said, well, yeah, we all want peace, and certainly not judging ourselves and forgiving ourselves was a step in the right direction. Also, not judging others and forgiving others. Those are the foundational steps we had to take in order to achieve this peace on earth. But this is where Jesus was slightly different. He talked more about love. I mean, not just like a sexual love or love of family. It wasn't like this. This had to be what they call it, the agape love, the larger love, the love of humanity, the love of creation, and including the love of God. So you had to have this vast sense of appreciation and love about creation and God, and how an integral part of all that was critical. And therefore it meant that you had to love, yes, you could love your family, love your neighbor, but you also had to love your enemy, the person that was working against, because it goes back all the way to the non-judging, the forgiving of them for being the people that they are, that they're caught in this struggle and they don't know how to get themselves out, and you have to love them through that. And that by being loved, by being truly present for somebody in a state of love, that's the only way you're going to achieve peace. So Jesus really, he really understood the big four steps here. Accepting and non-judging ourselves for not being divine creatures, forgiving ourselves and God and everyone else for being less than divine, and the little things that we do to harm each other. So the forgiveness is, yes, you forgive somebody who kills your child, but you also forgive all of humanity. You forgive even God. You even forgive me. I'm the devil. You even forgive me because you understand that we are part of this larger experiment in the hope that we could find our way to it. So that big one, that love step, that's the one that's going to kill. I mean, even if anyone could even get past the first step, which I don't think they can. But yeah, I can see Jesus' logic. It actually makes sense. It does seem like that could happen. It does seem like it. It seems like, yeah, if everyone could just stop judging themselves and each other, and just accept that we are the less than divine creatures. We really can accept that. Then we move on to forgiveness. So any of the individual acts of violence and brutality that we are sure to continue to do, then, yeah, maybe we can set ourselves up